Yes, sir. And good evening, everyone. We are live with our weekly. Well, let's just admit what it is. It's a drunken shit show before the real drunken shit show known as movie night. And there really is no housekeeping, not really much to say this week because it's going to be a free form. So let's just go ahead and get everyone in here. So, and for those who weren't aware, we were listening to a wonderful retelling of the hurricane that hit the eastern seaboard of the U.S. recently. Yes, everyone can hear you guys now. You can talk.
Oh, okay, great. Well, to even make matters worse, on top of the hurricane, the epicenter of it hit sort of Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Fort Bragg is, and that's where my in-laws live. And in the middle of it, my father-in-law had a stroke.
Oh crap!
He's doing well. It all worked out.
Good.
You know, they got that medication now that if you get it to him in time, it reverses it, and he's back home and doing well. But it was kind of a scary thing for a short bit.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Fort Bragg, isn't that where there's a military prison as well?
No, you're thinking of oh crap, Fort
Leavenworth.
Leavenworth.
Leavenworth,
Yes,
yeah.
Leavenworth. That's in Kansas.
Okay. Fair enough. It's just geography. American geography is not my thing. I mean, I know where Chicago and Ohio and North and South Dakota is, and of course,
Right.
Florida and LA. Well, not of course, but there's reasons why. That's basically all I remember of the geographic stuff.
Fort Bragg is the home of JSOC, the Joint Special Operations Command, and where I worked for a year, and it's the home of Delta Force, who shoots people in the face.
In other words, people that we have visiting Denmark this week.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, we would have. Yeah, we had visitors regularly.
Well, it's just let's see. Is it? I can never remember if it's every 2 years or every 4 years. I think it's every 2 years. There's this massive military exercise where the whole country of Denmark is involved, and it has most of the NATO forces from around the world coming to play, so to speak.
Yeah, lots and lots of
mainly SOF
right
units and support units, of course. Well.
The odd thing about working in special ops was, especially at JSOC, because that's the highest level. You know, that's tier 1 operations going on there, is that you would go to work and all these like really cool things were going to happen that were going to be on the news later, and you had to go home and say fuck all about it.
Yeah, I mean, last week I was going to the final parts of preparations for the exercise. I didn't get to go myself this time, but I did help with the preparations. It's just so annoying when they tell us to turn your phone off and leave it in this box, and then get a receipt for it.
Oh yeah, that was my life every morning. You would put your phone in a box and you'd pull a little key out and stick the key in your pocket and then retrieve your phone at the end of the day.
Yeah, it wasn't that advanced in this case. It was just a guy with I don't know what you would call it. Just imagine a post office where the local the guy who delivers mail to everyone.
Right, give you a little receipt for it.
Yeah, no. He sorts his own all the people on his route. He sorts the mail in a some kind of furniture with many small slots in there. I lack the word right now.
Oh yeah, we call them like a cubby hole.
Yeah.
Is American word for it.
Yeah, I mean pigeon boxes, pigeon cages. would be
Pigeonholes.
European.
Yeah,
pigeonhole.
pigeonhole.
Yeah, pigeonholes where there's one guy operating that thing, and you just get a number with a receipt plus the number of the pigeonhole. So to speak. There's
Well,
no
the
nothing
building,
gets-
the building where I worked at JSOC, which was the same. I worked in the same room. Think of like a NASA operations center you would see in a movie. That's where I worked, which was also the commanding general was in there when there was a big op going on. They had sensors. If you had a cell phone in there and it was not off,
they would.
this
Oh, you
sensor,
were fucked.
yeah, this sensor would say, "Hey, somebody's got a cell phone in here," and then it would be bad. So no, we didn't play. I mean, this is the room from which we killed Bin Laden, from which we did the Maersk, Alabama rescue. That this is where shit goes down. And I'm not even saying that I was a big part of that. I basically told the commanding general where Navy ships are. That was my job. So I was just a guy that was really fortunate enough to get to watch a lot of that stuff go down.
Yeah, just 1 inch above clerk, I guess.
It was funny because we would have a brief every morning, and it was televised out to anybody who was high level enough to see it. And I had a part in that, in which I told basically it was a commander update brief, so it was for the commanding general, but also anybody else who was watching. And I would say, hey, these ships that you're concerned about are here, and they're going to go here, and all that. And so, of course, everybody saw it. So I would walk around our compound and be like, hey, Cliff, hey, Cliff, hey, Cliff. I'm like, I don't know who any of you people are. But they would see me basically on TV every morning. And, I mean, it makes a dumb lieutenant feel a little bit important for, once.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's this is my part of it was only in the National Guard. We just play a supporting role. Basically, well, the most of what I usually help with is just flight line security in terms of it's not security. What do you call that? Well, it's to prevent as much fraud as possible. Basically, that's most of it anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
also
FOD walk
small-
downs. Do y'all call it FOD walk down?
yeah, but in this case, it's just a checkpoint. You stop
Right.
every vehicle, and if they don't do it themselves, order them to do a walk around and give them the screwdrivers and whatnot.
Right.
They need to clear their tires. We're not allowed to help them, but we can, keep them off the flight line until they actually do a walk around.
Right.
And a couple of other things as well, but what would you call them? Just spot checking as a kind of MCP, just mobile checkpoints, just popping up every now and then to make a basic check of ID, credentials, whatever needed.
Now, the really cool thing that I found about Spec Ops, and that's where I spent my last 3 or 4 years, is that on the left side of me would be a Navy SEAL, and on the right side of me would be a Delta, or Green Beret, or some sort of operator. But I never got the feeling that like they were looking down. I mean, of course, yeah, I've been to a bunch of schools and shoot, move, communicate. I got the basics of that, but I never heard any of them say, "Oh, well, you're not one of us." That was kind of cool. And I've been other places where you do get looked down on by people who aren't even at that level.
Well, there's a word for that kind of thing. I mean, you can have a guy that he hates your guts. He wants to kill you. He really hates your guts. But he has this thing called professionalism that enables him to work with you as long as you don't fuck with him.
Right, but I never got the feeling that it was even that. I think it's just that when you're a badass, you don't have to say you're a badass.
Oh, you mean at a bar, in a bar fight, where you come in and you see a couple of guys fighting, well, a bunch of guys fighting, but there's that one guy sitting over in the corner somewhere and just looking at stuff.
Yeah.
That's the guy you want to take care of.
Well, it is kind of funny you mentioned that, because as you can see in the Discord, I had an interaction with Sean G recently, and I pointed out his
that guy.
his inferiority complex, and it's like, I know you think you're an alpha, and he was like, bitch, I am. And it's like, no, you're
if you
not.
were, you wouldn't have to say you are.
Exactly.
Right. And maybe it helped me that I am a big guy, and maybe, they didn't, they thought, well, at least he can kind of look like he belongs, so we're not going to say anything. And, I was an officer, so they kind of couldn't, the vast majority of them, except the Master Chiefs, who can say whatever they want. But I don't know, everybody, and even after I've retired, I still get texts from these guys saying, hey, how's shit going? They're just a bunch of good dudes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the usual issue of Hollywood, etc., just messing up people's expectations of what different parts of the military is about. Sometimes.
Oh, they do a terrible job, especially when it comes to special ops, because you don't really get a lot of these. Okay, I retired from SEAL Team 2, and the average Navy SEAL at our command was 5'8", I believe. I want to say he was 5'8", because these guys are climbing up the sides of stuff. They're spider monkeys. I mean, Don't get me wrong; they will mess you up. But this 250-pound Navy SEAL that looks like me, I met like 2.
Well, that's the usual thing. You don't have to be, this. I don't know if beefcake is the right word, but this beach lion buffed to perfection. Yeah, it may look good, but that's not necessarily what you actually need.
Yeah, there's a few, but they're exceptional because they're the guys that can have that amount of body mass and move it.
Yeah,
that's it isn't normal.
Big, but you have to move it as well. Yeah.
Because I can't. No, when we would do our fitness test, the run, I was struggling. But there was a guy.
Run with no kit on, or is that with the full battle dress in this case?
Well, we did it both ways. In the normal, and Jared could tell you that the normal PT test, you're just in PT clothes and you're running a mile and a half.
Yeah, shorts and t-shirt. It's a 1.5 mile run, and then 2 minutes to do as many push-ups and 2 minutes to do as many sit-ups as you can.
Absolutely.
No backlifts or whatever it's called.
Oh, the pull-ups? No, the Marines do that.
Right.
Yeah, but on your stomach.
Sit-ups. Crunches.
Crunches, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when I did go into some of the higher level stuff there at the end, we did do the full battle rattle and some of that stuff, but that's not a military wide or Navy wide. That's specific for the command you're going to. And I struggled because I just have so much body mass.
I used to struggle with the runs when we got back from the deployments because I was on a fast attack sub. There was no place to run.
Well, don't y'all have that Sherwood Forest thing going on?
No, I was on a fast attack sub, not a boomer. I was on a fast attack.
That's actually, I'm glad you said that because I don't know the difference. Can you give us a 2-minute?
Fast attack is kind of
and
like it's kind of like your hunter killer. Boomer's a missile sub. So fast attacks are much smaller. We do not have a Sherwood Forest. We do not, we have VLS tubes for our Tomahawks, but they're out in a free flood area. They're not like in the center of the ship.
Okay, so the fast attack kills other subs or ships, and the boomers kill countries.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the boats with a very big boom.
I'm embarrassed that I didn't know that after 22 years, but I did aviation, and then I did surface, and then I did spec ops, and that's all I know.
Well, yeah. A way to think about it, your Ohio class, their main job is to go be a hole in the water.
They go out and they hide.
Hide with professional.
Well, it's kind of... Go ahead.
Oh, I just said the whole point of a boomer is to hide with professionalism.
Kind of like the a U.S. Army soldier. His job is to occupy 1 square foot of space and stop any bullet that comes through it.
Pretty much.
I haven't heard that one before.
Whereas a fast attack will be like, we'll get attacked to like carrier strike groups because we'll be like the guard dogs in the strike group. Basically, we might have like a patrol area where we just patrol a sector of the ocean somewhere.
And the funny thing about subs for me, and again, I'm sorry, I'm going back to my JSOC day. When I would brief where our subs were, there were a lot of people that had to leave the room. And then I see Trump on TV telling the leader of the Philippines, "Hey, we've got 2 subs off of North Korea." I'm like, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Yeah. That had to be Trump.
It's actually funny because like 3/4 of our crew didn't know we were at.
Right. Like we had a British and an Australian and a Canadian officer that were attached to us. They had top secret SCI clearances just like the rest of us. They had to leave the room and be gone before I could tell the general where our subs were. And then this guy just says it to a dictator. Idiot.
Great.
Another thing too is like if you ever listen, it's actually funny because it differs from a lot of other ships. If you ever hear like the kind of like the maritime radio reports and the calls going on with like coming in and out of port, subs are never identified by name.
No.
We're always inbound sub or outbound sub, and that's it.
Right. I was talking to if the ones of you who know who Geostreber is, I was chatting with him the other day, and that subject of our dear leader came up, and I said, "Look, it wasn't all of us, dude.
No,
it wasn't.
It was maybe a third of the country actually voted for him."
I did vote, and I voted third party just because I was like, I'm here. I got to circling something.
Voted for Johnson.
When options 1 and 2 are both equally shit, you start looking at 3 and 4.
I voted for a guy named Evan McMullen, who's out of Utah, and just because he was the least bad choice.
Yeah. All right. So
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, since we have you in here this time, Cliff, we actually have a good, relevant question from the chat. Who is better trained, the Navy SEALs or the SAS?
Oh my God, that is.
Has that ever been tested, by the way?
I don't.
I
wouldn't even want to say. Like, you've got a lot of different things going on here. Like, you've got your SAS, and you've got your Green Berets, and you've got your Navy SEALs, and there's a little bit of specialization going on there because in a maritime op, you're going to be more. You're going to have more Navy SEALs. If it's ground-based, I guess it could go either way. And then, of course, there's a whole hell of a lot more Green Berets than there are Navy SEALs. As far as if you just want to kill everybody there, then I'd say SAS. Because they don't care how many rounds they expend. I've seen ops where they go into a room and they shoot everybody in there, and then on the way out, everybody lowers their barrel and puts 2 in everybody that they passed. They already killed.
And we're so used to hearing about American soldiers in Iraq or Afghanistan just shooting up the place before starting to ask questions. That's the usual story.
I've seen a few things that lead me towards the SAS guys are going to make sure nobody's shooting them in the back on the way out.
Well, I was referencing regular soldiers and not special ops, by the way.
Oh,
Making sure that that was
yeah,
clear.
I can't speak to that as much.
No, I didn't experience that myself, but I did see on occasion American soldiers being way more of a couple of assholes than they should have in the compound. I've never joined them. Outside the camp.
Now
I didn't get to it. That is,
I've been on. Are we talking like off duty or on duty?
Well, in this case, it was off duty. It was in Camp Price at that moment. At that time.
Yeah, we definitely had issues with that, especially when alcohol was involved.
You always end up with commands that are bad and end up like that. I remember one of our trips to Gibraltar, one of the destroyers got asked not to come back.
Yes, I have been on a ship that was asked to leave port before.
Because they'd pull into port, they go out to the pubs, they would start fight with Royal Navy people. They loved us, but that destroyer was asked not to come back.
Yeah, I was on a bus once with a friend of mine who was a female lieutenant, and I was an ensign at the time, and so we got on the bus. It was one of the buses just for Navy that was going back to Fleet Landing. Which is where the ships are parked, and there was a destroyer there with us. And I said, "Which seat do you want?" And she asked me to take the inside seat, which I did. And so she was on the outside seat, and an enlisted guy, I think he was an E3, sitting on the seat behind her, threw up onto the back of her arm. So you could guess how that went over. Yeah, he didn't. It was communicated to our ship from his ship that he was not going to leave the ship for several ports.
See, that's where being on the carrier, it was always interesting to hear the stories about what happened and who got in trouble doing what. But what really surprised me is it never failed. We always lost anywhere from 3 to 8 people in Australia.
Oh, I wish I could hit a port in Australia.
Because of
I never
the
did.
rivers or the beaches.
Both.
I've never been there, but I mean, I hear that Bondi Beach is one of the greatest places to just sit in a lawn chair with a couple of beers, just looking.
Well, Jared, let me know if this rumor is true that Australian girls like American guys. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because we are more upfront.
Fascinating.
We are more upfront. We are more open. We are more relaxed than your general Aussie guy. Like
That's what I've heard.
Yep. Which
I was an East Coast guy. We didn't go there.
Which, yeah, there was one of the bars that I went into while I was down there, kind of kicking myself in hindsight for being faithful to my marriage, because I had this petite little thing back into me, like spitting image of Kate Beckinsale, and I could have had her, but I didn't.
You could have been given a pass for that.
Not
Not
from a
my
certain
style.
individual, I think.
Not my style.
Yeah, but I would like sign something, on letterhead, that if need be, like, come on.
Get some pictures, see like, hun, this is what I was up against.
Right, right. It's sort of like, why did you get your ass kicked? Well, here's the picture of the guy that did it, and it's Mike Tyson. So that's analogous.
Or makes Mike Tyson look like a schoolgirl.
Well, I'm assuming this chick did look like a schoolgirl.
No, she actually looked of legal age, and it was just
Well-
combination of that accent with the look of a young Kate Beckinsale. Think like the first Underworld movie.
I see what you're up against, and that was some dedication to your vows. So good on you.
Yeah, I don't know
Well,
if I could have done it.
I would say that the accent of I can't remember the area. There was this, and perhaps Alan could knows about it. There was a TV series of the Australian Coast Guard. The accent they had there, if girls with that Australian girls with that kind of accent, I mean, they could just melt anything with their talking. Certainly for me. That was,
Yeah, I've heard enough of the Australian accent to know what that could probably do.
And that's where it was funny. Like, as soon as some people found out that I was going to Japan to be on the Kitty Hawk, they were like, "Oh man, the women out there are going to be amazing. I mean, you're gonna be in Japan. You're gonna probably hit Thailand. You're gonna be in Singapore." And I'm like, "Yeah, not my style. I'm looking forward to Australia and that sort of area."
Yeah, yeah. So real quick, Jared, a little bit off topic, and I swear I'll leave this right after I ask you this question and you answer. On the FE front, there was a big revelation that came out from Sean several days ago, and then radio silence. Is there news to that we could talk about offline, or is that just coincidence?
Legal proceedings are pending.
Right. Okay. That's all I really wanted to know, because I'm serious. I left a comment that said I will do a fundraiser at my job.
Yeah, the thing with legal proceedings is they can take time. So,
Oh God, I know.
So it's one of those, is fundraising going to be needed or not? He's still working on finding the exact law firm that's going to do the advocation work side of it. But yeah, FE Corps is screwed.
I agree, and let me know, because my coworkers make above average income. I can probably add a little something to the pot.
You know, I will pass that along to Sean.
I commented, but I'm sure that was buried in a trillion other comments. So back to the normal programming. I apologize. I just had to ask that.
Oh, no worries. I mean, this is a freeform week, so we could even talk about more of the wonderful stupidity. The only thing that I will have to say, there is one topic that has come up over the last few days that there are certain people that just that deserve to be punched in the face for. What is your guys' view of people in their late 20s to 50s acting like they're part of the popular crowd in a high school lunchroom?
And can you be a little bit more specific?
That's a thing.
The trip to California. The trip to California that Red went on?
I missed something. I'm not aware of the trip.
So, a few months back, valued member of the Great Debate community passed away, Jade West.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I'm aware of that, and sympathies.
Yep. Her memorial service was held in San Francisco over this past week. And Red went there. He initially didn't want to because of the group of people who also were going to be there. But he was convinced to go anyways. He did. It turned into the shit show that he and I tried to prevent from happening. And it's been the spark of drama that is really unnecessary.
Is there a specific individual that, or individuals who were the cause of this, who I would recognize?
Or in other words, did a certain person arrive as well? I'll just put that in the internal chat, just to make sure we don't do anything.
No.
Actually, I need to,
Okay.
I guess, log on to this internal chat because I
Well,
didn't.
no. So if you have the window,
Kind of good, but then again, I would like to have him, get slapped across the face, to be honest. But not in a way that means
mainly
having to
because-
involve the police.
Actually, how do I get to this internal chat? I apologize for my ignorance.
are you on mobile or are you on the computer?
I'm on I'm on Discord on a laptop.
Oh
So
no.
I'm on your Discord page. So
Oh.
isn't there a link I can click?
Oh no. So you're in the meeting. So the window that is this meeting,
Uh-huh.
where you see the list of participants,
Yep.
the right icon that looks like a talk block.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Oh God, was that him?
No, he did not show up.
Oh God, I would punch him in the face just on sight.
What about the one that I asked about?
Yeah, I think
Same
that was.
person.
Talked about really? Did he?
Oh, no,
was
no.
he involved
Okay.
in that as well?
Hang on. So that's a few of the people who were there.
I'm aware of. I've talked to several of them people that I like pretty well. 3 out of the 4 I know.
Yeah. So
Well, not the 5th.
the fifth one was one of the instigators of a big factor of what happened. Like was contemplating calling the cops because of him.
Oh, why would you do that at that type of event?
Yeah.
Red wanted his privacy, wanted his distance. That guy literally barged into the hotel room.
Oh,
Just to make sure, is that a typo or?
No, the spelling might be off, but it is not the typical pronunciation of the name.
Okay, it's just that I've seen some with one with that name on Discord, other places, and that person seems to be a good, cool guy. But of course, it could be someone completely different.
Yeah, some people just tend to have a switch that flips, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
But so the second
Go ahead.
person on the list, I have zero respect for personally now. Professionally, respect is still there, but only professionally.
I don't know enough. That I only know of what I've seen online. I've never spoken to her personally.
And actually, hang on, guys. I just got a message that a particular person wants in. So, I guess Red is watching. or Steve McRae is.
Let me say really fast that it's for Red. I was in a talk. I was actually you were there, Jared. I was on with him 2 weeks ago. Didn't speak really directly back and forth to him, but I've got great respect for that guy. Like he has great content and seems to be a solid dude.
Oh yeah, and actually, you know what? I just sent him the link. When he gets in here, I'm going to give him a hard time off the bat for one thing.
crashing into pigs.
Oh no, Red. No, I'm talking about Steve.
Oh, Steve McCrae's going to be in here.
I just sent him the link.
Uh, okay. Well, I am going to say something after he gets in here. If you would give me 30 seconds after he gets in here. It's not going to be controversial. It will be. It'll be above board.
Actually, they are streaming the
Non-sec.
non-sec, and he's actually part of it. So,
Okay, never mind. I will say it to y'all. I was going to ask, like, I'm not lying. I was going to ask, has he ever been in here? Because I really think that dude is an interesting dude. Like,
Wasn't he? He was a nuke, wasn't he?
yes,
Yeah.
he was a machinist mate nuke, and my brother was a machinist mate nuke. But
Half my boot camp company were machinists. We're going into nuke programs. So.
I've just never seen or heard someone who can speak so intelligently on so many different topics as he can. Am I wrong?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was slightly distracted.
Practically all of what I've heard him talk about on the non-sec show anyway. He usually when there's a topic that he doesn't feel that he's sufficiently knowledgeable about, he will say it out
And
front.
and that's the mark of intellectual honesty. But I've
Oh,
heard
sure.
the guy talk in depth above my head on physics, chemistry, evolution, biology. I don't know how many subjects, and he just seems to be so well versed on so much stuff. And then he'll tell you that he doesn't have a graduate degree. I really want to pick his brain at some point and say, "What's up, bro?"
Does anybody know if he was an ELT or was he just a regular machinist mate in the nuke program?
I
think
don't
That might
know what he-
explain his
Oh,
high
that's
chemistry
cool.
stuff. So.
I don't know what ELT is.
ELT in the nuke program, ELT is an engineering laboratory technician. Some of the machinist mates are ELTs. They deal with like reactor chemistry, like primary loop chemistry and stuff like that. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but I heard. I mean, I was listening to one of the non sequitur shows one morning on the way to work, and he was talking about Lorentz transformation, and I had to get to work and Google what the hell a Lorentz transformation was.
Oh, I can't remember what the Lorentz force is right now. Damn it! I know it.
Yeah.
At the exact moment I see a model of it, but
See, and it's those sorts of topics on why I've gone back to school to use my GI Bill to study physics right now.
Well, it's here's a small announcement. My boss came to me today. I do not work. I have an electrical engineering degree, just like Jared. Well, probably not just like Jared, because I've forgotten all my shit. But my boss's boss came to me today, because I don't work in my field, and said we're opening up a new. We have a new position opening up, and we want you to apply for it. And it's someone with an electrical engineering degree who has experience in Navy combat systems and this amount of experience as in the field, which I do because I was an 11-year electronics tech, avionics. But I was the combat systems division officer, and I hit every billet, so I might actually be an engineer one day.
That'd be good.
It's a healthy raise too.
That's even better.
Yeah, we're talking about like 15 grand a year raise.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, beer and hookers. You know what I'm saying?
Ah, okay.
So yeah, I actually messaged. Yeah, I just messaged Steven. He was not ELT. He got out as a first class. Looks like he was surface fleet carriers.
He may have known my brother. That's weird. Well, no, he's a little older than we are. What's Steve?
little older?
No, he said he was pushing 50, right?
Now.
That doesn't make him older than all of us, you know.
Well, no, I'm 43, so my brother is 45, so they may have crossed paths. That's likely.
Well, excluding any exceptional, abilities and so on, when would the forced retirement based on age be?
Oh, based on
for
age?
Nuke or, yeah.
That's
I mean,
that's
are there
fairly
different
old.
age limits depending on where in the Navy you work? I mean, on a
Yes.
carrier, for example.
Not really on a carrier. I mean, there is a max age, but it is based on the max enlistment age. So
there's no
so basically,
based on radiation damage or.
well, that's based
That
on
was-
your dosimeter. Well, no,
Okay.
let's let the nukes talk about that. I'm going to bow out.
Well, I actually wear a dosimeter now for work where I'm at, and it's interesting just how strong the shielding in my X-ray units are. In 3 years of working on the equipment, and even a couple times forgetting to put an individual panel in until after the thing is spun back up, I'm still in single digits on my lifetime exposure.
Yeah, on the sub, I'm assuming it would be the same on Ohio. I'm not sure. At least on the fast attack, we all wore dosimeters. So
Yep, same here.
Yeah.
The nukes had theirs, so they could be tested regularly. We had just a basic rectangle that they would check after we were pulled back in from deployment.
Well, there's the three factors: time, distance, and shielding, which kind of screws the flat earthers on the Van Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because time is a very important factor to that.
Yes.
you'd have, on the sub, you'd have different exposure areas. I mean, there were some spots that were like 3-hour areas. I mean, people generally weren't there very long. No, I think one of our 3-hour areas was there's a on the Los Angeles class. There's a side passage that runs from the forward compartment to the aft compartment engineering, and it runs beside the reactor, and that's like a really slow, like a 2-hour limit, I think. But I mean, like, you're spending all of 30 seconds walking around. So
Yeah. So I'm gonna go pee in the potty if y'all don't mind. I'll be right back.
So sorry,
carrot.
sorry. It's just funny to hear you put it that way.
Hey, that's what we called it in my house.
the
I was going to say, did any of the aircraft guys working with electronics need to wear dosimeters? Because we had to wear them around the radar transmitters because they tend to pump out a lot of X-rays as well as RF.
Yeah, not in the IMF, not in the intermediate facility, because while we did testing, a lot of the high power stuff was in shielded areas, but the exposure limit, the exposure time was not such that it was deemed necessary for dosimeters to be applied.
I guess it also depends on how well your radar transmitters are set up, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you'd be getting a lot of bleed from loose connections of the waveguides, which if you have a loose connection there, you're not going to get as strong of a propagation signal as you should.
We didn't get bleed so much as with our very high power klystrons. As the electrons actually finally hit the cathode, they turned into X-ray, and we got a lot of X-ray out the bottom of the klystron as well as RF. You didn't want to go in the basement near the in the basement where the waveguide came through the floor. That was certain.
Oh, come on.
It was okay. I remember our radar waveguides ran next to the officers' wardroom, so.
Yeah, waveguide's okay. It just stays in the pipe.
How thick were those waveguides? The inside diameter, that is.
The inside diameter, I'm trying to think. They were about full wave width-wise and about half wave the other way. So they were about 100 mil by 50 mil, if I remember correctly.
So only half the size of what I've seen with 10 gig waveguides for gigahertz DX competitions in ham radio.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
kind of strange that they're that small.
All right, I'm back.
But
I don't know how y'all managed without me.
I mean, RF tends to be pure voodoo at times, especially the further up you go in frequency. That much I do know.
yeah. Obviously, whatever dimensions you're going to have are going to be matched to the frequency stroke wavelength of the RF. So,
but what would it be a disadvantage to have use a waveguide for twice the frequency it was intended for? Would that be an issue, or would it just be as much attenuation as it would theoretically be in a physical and a coax cable? If you know, I mean, this is
I would think you would be all right using a waveguide that is twice the size. Like you say, designed with for something that is twice the wavelength. See, one of the reasons we could get away with smaller waveguide is because we had it pressurized to 48 psi, so there was less chance of arcing over inside of it, internal arcing.
Yeah, and using nitrogen, I would imagine, or helium or argon or something. Yeah,
I mean, the pressure is good because it just reduces the distance that you're actually going to get the arc to jump, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, but I was thinking about keeping moisture out as well. But I would imagine it would be the easiest to just use a nitrogen generator, a local nitrogen generator, picking it out of the surrounding atmosphere.
Right. The problem we would have had with that was that it's really hard to actually seal waveguide.
Mm-hmm.
So we used a large pressure vessel to maintain the 48 psi. It's because you can't actually seal from an air pressure point of view. You can't seal a radar a waveguide slip ring, and we had rather a lot of radar slip rings in a big long stack.
And so even if you could, you would still have to be able to maintain the purity inside of it in case it got hit by the artillery or something. And if you had a system that was depending on a perfect seal, would you be able to compensate for a broken seal in case of a artillery hit? Does it make sense to have a pressure vessel to keep that pressure?
So, right, you see the area in the picture on my thingy that comes up on the screen.
Thumbnail. Yeah.
Thumbnail. That area is 60 feet across. So that's
the reflector.
20 meters. It's sitting on top of a pressure vessel that is 20 meters long and 5 meters in diameter. pressurized to 48 psi.
Hmm.
Uh,
But you don't remember if it's a certain gas or
it was just air.
filtered air.
It was simply just air. And if you hit it with an artillery shell, it's dead.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Yeah, I mean
the
that's
easiest way.
3.3 bars, so it's not all that much pressure.
No,
I mean,
but
you hook up.
there's a lot
normal-
of it though.
Yeah, but you can connect a normal compressor from a brick and mortar shop
Oh,
and
yeah,
maintain the pressure.
yeah. The problem
Although
was
it
we
should be
actually had a fire in the power slip rings at the bottom of the stack because they would leave the brushes would drop lots of carbon dust all over it, and we managed to get a spark in there that lit the carbon. It took us 45 minutes to depressurize it before we could go in there to try and put the fire out. Fortunately, it had flashed over and just went out anyway.
But I mean, what would that be? 50 cubic meters or something? That seems like a
Don't
long
know.
time to depressurize it.
It was huge. Oh, yeah, and you've got all the waveguide as well, because
Oh, yeah,
it's literally pressurizing probably a good at least 2 kilometers of waveguide,
Well, how much did you say?
maybe up to 2 kilometers. There's certainly over 1,000 meters of waveguide in there.
2 kilometers? What the? Why that much? Delay lines or no? That can't be.
Well, there's 12 transmitters.
Yeah.
Feeding the aerial. Then there's 12 sets of receivers that it's also got to feed, and each transmitter is banging out 5 megawatts.
Well, the receivers they could practically be mounted on top, couldn't they? Or closer to the antennas.
The receivers, the transmitters were all downstairs in the building. The receivers were all upstairs.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of waveguide. The waveguide racks were impressive.
Yeah, I still haven't had the pleasure of visiting a television broadcast antenna tower. Although I have one in my I can look out the window and see one. You know, one of those 1,000 feet high antenna towers with I think it's 50 kilowatts irradiated transmission power. They deliberately have a positive pressure system encasing the oil-cooled coax cables going up. They don't use waveguides in that case, but they have oil-cooled cables encased in a pressurized system to keep out the moisture.
Yeah.
So they I mean, back in the 90s, I had the opportunity to go visit one of those locations before they switched from vacuum tube or valve to solid state. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I wasn't ever able to go. I would have loved that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And also one of the old civilian HF or long wave radio stations are still operating, but only once or twice every day. I think it is. I think it's at 100 or 200,000 kilowatts. I think it is. Those valves are huge. They operate for about 200 hours or something, and then they swap them out. But,
Well, based
some of
on
our
the-
Clystrons
Go ahead.
could do 20 hours at 5 megawatts.
Based on the conversation, everybody sounds like they're pretty smart dudes. If Jared can do this, I want to turn on my camera to let y'all look at the T-shirt that I just bought. Is there a way to do that?
Actually, down in the lower right corner of the screen, all you have to do...
I see down here. Yep,
Yep.
where I can turn it on.
Yep, and
Yeah,
you will be presenting to everyone.
Okay, check out this T-shirt. Everybody at work thought it was hilarious.
The silence is deafening.
Oh, he is just being quiet. Is he?
He's
We lost him.
he's building the suspense.
Yeah. I'm trying to look up the actual information on the long wave transmitter I was talking about.
I don't know how Bo's coming over to everybody else, but to me, he's really quiet in comparison to everybody else that's on there.
Am I? Well, I could.
Yeah,
I could take it
really,
up.
really quiet.
Oh, can't have that. I mean, come on. Yeah, I can put it up
That's
further,
better.
but
That's better.
yeah. I really should mount my my physical mixer somewhere else. The fader is just way too easy to lock. So, yeah.
I think the cat has hit the quit button, not the camera button.
If he dropped out, there we go. Now he's back.
Schrödinger probably thought he could, drag and drop a link for some. I've done that a couple of times. Drag and drop
No.
right into the Hangout, and that doesn't work at all.
Literally, all I did was turn my
Awesome.
camera on.
What
That's
the hell?
all I did. and my computer said, "No, I'm
Derek?
not playing." But check out my
Okay.
T-shirt.
Present him so it doesn't flip. What the? Velociraptor equals distance raptor. What?
Seen that before.
Velociraptor equals distance raptor over time raptor.
How did that one come about?
Velociraptor. Get it?
Velocity is distance over time.
Come on,
Well,
my
One of my
dumb
problems is
coworkers thought it was funny.
yeah. Well, one of my issues are that I've always loved the Jurassic Park movies, but hearing from others, especially the guy who has the Fact Fiend YouTube channel, I have heard that the new Jurassic World movie is crap. So I've been trying to stay away from Jurassic anything references.
Stop ruining my
until I-
T-shirt.
Yeah.
My T-shirt's funny.
Your T-shirt's funny, but it's missing feathers.
And that's
He
a
does
Which
good
was one of the
point.
problems with Jurassic Park.
That's
no
a good
further.
point. That's a good point. I may paint them on.
Because isn't a velociraptor a giant chicken with feathers
Pretty much, yeah. They
and teeth?
most of the raptor species had feathers. They have found impressions of the skin and feathers on those things.
Yeah, but I don't want Kent Hovind to see my T-shirt and get mad.
Oh, why not? That would be awesome.
Yeah, but then he'd stop paying his taxes again, and then I would have to pay more.
Well, I did recently see something about some news about him. Can't remember exactly what it is, but it seems that he still hasn't either found out how this tax stuff works or just getting lazy about hiding what he's been doing.
What is it
I'm
with
not
these
sure at all, but
people in my country that can't stop embarrassing us?
yeah.
Jared, we need to have a meeting. And
The U.S. is a really big place.
it is, and that's I do understand that that's part of the problem. It's just there's a lot of us.
And would I be correct in assuming that the way typical Americans think or work is that the louder you yell, the more attention you get?
Yeah, let's get into that actually, because I often tell people the volume of your voice does not give weight to your argument.
Nope.
Um,
And I'd like to add before you go further, your ability to present your ideas, your thinking, also doesn't represent your knowledge or your abilities. Only, I mean, you could be a brilliant scientist, but suck at presenting your knowledge.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that's where the majority of your research scientists really are not that capable of teaching. They can
Yeah.
get the information out. It takes a certain type of person to be able to learn from them. And even then, the majority of your PhD holders that are actively engaged in research, they're not working on the research project themselves. They're heading it, but they're mainly out schmoozing, getting funding to keep the project going.
Because isn't that what modern academia does? Is get funding?
Yep.
I happen to know that for a different reason than anything.
I think that's always been the case with academia, though. You've always had to get funding.
And that's that's kind of valid. Like that's kind of almost necessary, but it's not helpful.
I've as a technician, I've been to many courses, university courses in academic communication. Most of the students, if you could call it that, I mean, are research students or whatever you want to call it. But every now and then, you do get a professor or a let's see, you've got a, what would you call that in English? A doctor high up in the ranks, from a hospital.
Right.
Sometimes from a university hospital, but not always. The way they conduct themselves, you can clearly see who's better at showing out, showing what they know. I mean, they literally learn during this course how to present themselves, both with physical, body language, the way you speak, how you how you present yourself, and always have to pay attention to the audience. I mean, for example, hand gestures in some countries, if you make a fist but pull out your middle and index finger, if you present your the back of your hand to the audience, you damn sure need to be certain that there are no Englishmen in the audience, because that would be a declaration of war practically. Those kind of things.
No. Only when we're doing it to the French.
Fair enough.
And I've got a great kind of analogy of this. I watched a documentary just a couple of days ago, actually, about a pilot who was shot down, and he spent 6 days on the ground. The enemy was after him, and he was broadcasting on his radio, saying, "Hey, guys, I'm here." But the bad guys were broadcasting at a higher, higher power nonsense. So whatever he was saying wasn't getting out there. So if I'm saying, "Hey, velocity equals, distance divided by time," and somebody else is saying, the Kardashians are great, what gets out there? Like you can't. So volume, like, it does have an effect. It's not valid, but it does have an effect on the greater populace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and my wife has a great saying: "The squeaky wheel gets the grease."
Yes, that's. We could have just said that, and then the rest of us shut up. So tell your wife, bravo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she will readily admit that she's not the most intelligent person, but she does have some good things in that aspect.
It's about practicality, and we all just talked for what 10 minutes, and then someone threw something out there, and that's what my wife's good for is like stop preaching your academic nonsense and just this. So that's what sometimes.
Okay, I mentioned an HF transmitter earlier, from the managed by the Danish National Broadcasting, not company, but Danish National Broadcasting. It was broadcasting at 0.62 megahertz at 300 kilowatts. The HF transmitter I was really hoping to visit before they tear it down. They haven't done that yet, but it's very unlikely that I'll ever be able to visit it.
118-meter tower as well. That's nice.
Yeah,
Would,
it is.
wouldn't
I've been there many
wouldn't
times.
get me up that for anything.
Sorry?
You wouldn't get me up that for anything.
Oh, come on. As long as the transmitter is off.
I don't really do heights.
And I can't even remember if it's an end-fed monopole or if it's a dipole, but it's a long thing.
That's what she said.
Well, hey, it's not the length, it's not the girth, it's the sound it makes when it hits the ceiling if she looks good. That matters.
What was I supposed to say?
Sorry, I was only half listening to that. And by the way, Jay Brown, go ahead and show it.
An SFW warning, or
No, it is safer. It is safe for work. It's just
A little disturbing.
yeah, that should have been the other way
That
around.
is definitely what you get.
That should have been the other way around. And
well, it's one of those things. Just because it's in ultra high def doesn't mean it necessarily looks better.
The high def shows the imperfections better.
Oh God!
Well,
The first time I
although
saw
I do
one of
love
them,
my 5K monitor.
well, yeah, but the first time I saw one of the Matrix movies in IMAX, it looked like I could literally crawl into one of the pores on Morpheus's face, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
oh, and Jerry, the typical Danish pedantic in me wants to just kick it around a little bit. It's not ultra high definition. It's not UHD. It says 4K. There's a big difference between the two.
They
Not
are
the
interchangeable monikers here in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, that's only because of the media and some producers of televisions or those who handle their marketing. There's a big difference. There's 256 vertical lines in difference. 4K has a higher resolution than UHD. There's also a couple of other minor differences apart from that, but 4K is a higher resolution.
Well, it's also, if you look at it, the actual data transfer speeds in the Wi-Fi for cell phones, what is currently 4G LTE is actually the 3G band.
Well, yeah. The 4G LTE is at least it's in the name, long-term evolution. It's in a test phase. Although we'll soon have 5G, as I understand it. But it's not the band that makes the difference, though. The frequency band is being used on. I mean, technically speaking, yes. The higher the frequency, the more room you have for data. But it's a hard one. I mean, back in the day when when cell phones or wireless telephones switched from analog to digital. We used the GSM, of course. When the DCS system started getting around, that usually did also specify a different frequency area. In Denmark, that meant 2 different frequency areas, one of which was 1800 megahertz. I can't remember the specifics, but in Denmark, if you're working on 4G LTE, it isn't necessarily on a different frequency than on standard 3G. But I mean, there's differences everywhere, so that's just me geeking out a little bit.
Yep. Can I throw something out there, like just real fast, because you said pedantic? I remember this. This was months ago. Y'all talked to. I had my little boy come in here and talk to you for a few minutes or a few seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Like he has Asperger's, and he's highly above IQ for his age. He used in this past week. Yeah, he's highly intelligent. He used the words pedantic and juxtaposed in the past week, and he's 10.
And I take it he used them correctly, of course.
Oh yes, he used them correctly in context. He apologized to me for being too pedantic, and he pointed out to me that he juxtaposed 2 things.
Well,
so
being pedantic in doing it correctly is a very good thing.
And it's funny because. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the challenge of presenting the correction you want to make. That's the important part. Being able to correct someone without presenting yourself as a Is he listening right now?
No. If you want, I can get him in here.
No, it's just to make sure. It's just a matter of being sure that you don't present yourself as a dick while correcting someone.
And that's what I run into, because I am pedantic as well, and I often offend my friends while pointing out their inadequacy with the word they use.
Well, the way I look at it is the English language is a wonderful tool if you know how to use it. And the best way to use it is adequate communication of what you are trying to say. Now, there are ways you can play with the language and still get the message across in a playful manner. However, most people are just fucking retarded with it.
Exactly. But if you're trying to say something specific, sometimes that word does it, and no other word.
Yep.
It always depends, and sometimes it just depends on the question you want to ask.
Oh,
that was intentional.
Why'd you have to do that? Why did you even have to go there?
I think you all know what person I'm referring to.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I've heard people say it that way for so long because, well, I was in Jacksonville, Florida for a while. And when you get into the deep south, you get a lot of that kind of colorful use of the English language, or bastardization, as I call it. So I almost got someone to try to punch me because they said, "Hey, let me ask you a question. Hang on, is it going to hurt?"
Well, is it? I mean, apart from, I'm sure that kids would make that say that. I mean, use that wording as they grow up, because they just do it, not intentionally. But are there specific areas or dialects in the U.S. that they tend to say that?
We're getting into deep water here. Let me throw out a joke from the 90s. I think we're all old enough to go there. So here's what really happened to O.J. Simpson's wife. His kids came to him, and they said, "Can we go to the mall?" And he said, "Go ask your mother."
Oh,
Oh,
I'm laughing, but I know I'm going to hell for that one.
yeah. If that was in text form, it would not work at all in England. At all.
I tell you what, I
do
notice about America is the range of the range of accent dialect is much larger, or the dialects cover a much larger area in the
Oh,
US
the range of dialect. Okay.
than they
Yes.
do here in the UK. You will have very different dialects in different parts of the same city. To an outsider, they'll sound the same, but to somebody from that city,
They
will know
can
which
spot the
district
difference.
which
Well, you-
district of the city they come from. You will,
be fair,
especially London.
To
Especially
be fair,
London.
like in the U.S., there are some of the larger cities. It's like that actually. There's some dialects within cities. New York, for example, there's multiple dialects there.
Yep, and in Boston, there are like 3 or 4 of them.
Boston?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, you can
Well, think
you
of
can
it
tell
as
the
a
difference.
sonar operator. A sonar operator can hear like the tiniest little inconsistencies. So if you're immersed in that environment, yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah. I always found it interesting how a sonar tech can distinguish the difference between 2 diesel boats from the same country of origin, but still know the differences. Like, oh, this one's this model, this one's this model. And I'm there like, oh, okay, I believe you.
Oh, some of them can call out a whole number.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, when I was still in my old infantry company in the National Guard, sometimes the radio operator in a certain squad or a platoon or whatever it might be, they would only have to key up their radio, and I would know instantly who it was. It's just something you get used to. The way that a transmitter sounds, just when it keys up, I can even hear some of the radios. I could even hear if the operator hadn't swapped out his almost flat battery for a fresh one,
Right.
where he should have have done that ages ago. I mean, and our radio equipment, it was, it's horribly old, and there's no signal strength indication at all, but I could just hear it. Something
Right.
the way it works, how the because of the electronics inside. I'm not sure
Well,
what part of it, but I could
the-
hear
that's-
whose radio it was.
This morning at work, someone at a meeting said one word, a single word, and I said, "Hey, are you from Minnesota?" And then he wasn't, but he was from just the next state over, like Wisconsin or something. And he was
Yeah,
like,
that
"Yeah."
Midwest dialect. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. The
My
northern
family's from
Midwest.
northern Minnesota.
It was either that or he was Canadian. It had to be.
What?
So if you,
there's-
Minnesota.
you-
Where is that? Is that the north?
Yeah.
U.S.
There's
It's not-
like
okay.
people like in northern Minnesota have a very similar accent as people from say Toronto. It's different, but it's very
Right.
similar.
Right. We were doing some joint ops with the Canadians, and when we would say on the radio, "Roger out," we would know if it was one of them because they would say "Roger oot."
Well, yeah, that would be another one.
yep.
Oh, the list of things you should never do as a serviceman that I saw today. Ask the Canadians which part of the USA they are from. Ask the Americans which part of Canada they are from.
The good part.
Yeah. Yeah. What state is Toronto in, for example?
They kind of have states a little bit.
Yeah, it's in the state of Northern America.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and I have actually heard someone ask that question. It was hilarious. Not the question itself, but the reaction of
Everyone else.
the guy who was asking. Yeah, just the look on his face. That was gold.
It does exist kind of on a spectrum, a little bit.
Uh-oh, I think we're offending Nim. What's this all about?
I'm not your friend, guy. Oh yeah, yeah. Now I can't get the specific scene out of what's it called? The South Park movie.
Oh, Playing
Bigger, Longer,
America.
Playing Canada.
Bigger,
Like-
longer, stronger.
Oh, I got that backwards. Yeah.
Bigger, stronger, and uncut. I think actually.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Bigger,
on-
longer, and uncut. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
South Park movie.
Oh, those guys are geniuses.
Absolutely, and it's amazing that they can still punch out an episode every single week in 6 days. It's incredible.
Oh, they had to scrap the second half of the last season because of how the election went.
Oh, yeah, because they guessed the wrong way.
Well, I saw the documentary, one of the documentaries about them, where they talked about Trey, I think it was, making an episode right around the election and an episode about the elections. I think it was during the election between can't remember if it was between Obama and the other guy. A different guy. I can't remember what his name was.
McCain?
Romney?
Or Romney.
You're talking
No.
about Romney or McCain?
First or second
that
time?
sounds- I think.
First time around was Romney. The second time around was McCain. It was
I think it's McCain then. Not sure. I
Yeah.
saw it a couple of days ago on YouTube. So
He's room temperature now. Or whatever room temperature is. That was a joke.
yeah, and I
Here's
didn't
a
get
documentary on Canada.
Strange Brew.
Bob and Doug
I don't know.
McKenzie. They're the experts.
And I can't think about I'm sure there's a beer out there that is brewed with a basic beer based on maple syrup. And I hate to even speculate on how that the taste, or even worse, the texture of that beer is sticky and. Ugh.
You know, I'm just glad that my favorite version of Sam Adams is finally available.
Oktoberfest.
Yes.
Is that pumpkin spice?
No. Oh, hell no.
What is
Actually, I
it
can picture.
about- No, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
What is it about? And correct me if I'm wrong. Everybody else is not American. Why does everything have to be pumpkin spice? I pumped 10 gallons of pumpkin spice gasoline into my truck today. What is it about this time of year?
Huh?
Marketing.
What?
Number one, I don't think it's
Spice
it
gas.
only really applies to Americans here, and I don't get it either because the only thing I like pumpkin spice in is pumpkin pie. So.
You know,
Correct.
and
Correct.
I'm the same damn way, and that's where, as soon as I see the flavors coming out, it's like, oh, pumpkin spice coming back, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I pulled up to the pump and it said regular unleaded, ultra unleaded, pumpkin spice unleaded.
For $10.
Well, I mean, if they
Was-
put
Was it a
a
Starbucks
six in
gas
there,
station?
That's an exaggeration, but I'm gonna own it.
I say it's bad enough when Starbucks do it.
Well, I expect it from a place like them.
Right, but everything this time of year is pumpkin spice in the last 5 years, 6, 7 years.
Yep. As a matter of fact, on Monday we get our delivery from our Pepsi vendor, who's also our coffee and cappuccino machine vendor, and they sent us our customary pumpkin spice mix.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know what
Some-
pumpkin tastes like, but the
It's-
idea of having gasoline scented.
It's some
Pumpkin
weird
or-
trend. It started about 5 years ago. It really took off, and for some reason now every Halloween period,
Yep.
beginning of fall type thing, here it comes.
Yeah, but here's what's bad. And so, how many of you guys are annoyed by this? When you see Christmas decorations before Labor Day.
Right. Yep. Walmart
Yeah.
opens
Jared?
that aisle.
Jared.
People always talk about the war on Christmas, and I'm saying like, yeah, there's a war on Christmas. Christmas has been winning.
Right.
We're back in
Right.
July. Why not?
Christmas dropped a nuke about 5 years ago.
I'm waiting for them. I'm finally waiting for them to finally surrender when Christmas starts trying to take over 4th of July because it's getting close.
Oh no! We get shipments of Christmas decorations for backstock at our grocery store in April.
Right.
April.
Right.
Fuck.
Christmas is going to set up a DMZ, and there's going to be exclusion zone and all that.
I draw the line at before Remembrance Sunday.
What date is
Anything
that?
with Christmas? 11th of
Mine-
November.
Yeah, mine is the
Oh,
U.S. Thanksgiving. I do not do anything Christmas related until after we've passed Thanksgiving here.
Oh yeah,
Same
I
here.
found out about Thanksgiving really the hard way by not knowing it was such a thing and coming on holiday to Florida, and the second week of our holiday being Thanksgiving week.
Oh.
Disney
wreck
got
a
a bit
holiday.
crowded all of a sudden.
Yep.
No Christmas decorations come out. Nothing Christmas happen. I don't even listen to any Christmas music. If it comes on this radio station, I will turn it off.
So
Are you
It takes
following
my
the-
daughter 3 weeks to decorate the house.
well, and here's the thing: when it comes to Christmas music, I have to wait until the kid is in school to play my Christmas music.
What? Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Oh no, no, oh
That
no,
kind of
that
thing,
that
or-
one's tame. I'm
Have
talking like the real dirty Bob Rivers stuff.
Oh, Bob Rivers.
Bob
There you
Rivers.
go.
Sounds like I have something in.
That's
Not
good.
heard of Bob Rivers.
What about Tom Lahr's Christmas Carol?
Yep. I got to run out of the garage and grab a beer. Hang on, guys.
I mean, I've never been much of a Christmas kind of guy, but then again, I grew up helping families. I mean, literally thousands of families. Not every single year, but accumulated financially. With the Salvation Army, and I've seen so many. I shouldn't say sad, but so many overly stressed, tapped out parents. More or less dragging their kids with them to get this Christmas package of, 3 shopping bags full to the brim, and they're almost breaking because of the weight of it, with food. I mean, seeing families parents just practically, and it's even hard to talk about sometimes. But no, seeing those families just being close to breaking down completely because of stress-related issues. Just a matter of, okay, do we save money to buy a couple of presents for the kids, or do we literally eat food at Christmas, that sort of thing? So I have never liked Christmas as such at all. I hate Christmas decorations. There's nothing I hate more than Christmas decorations. I mean, I don't mind the atmosphere. Taking a walk in town, in the high street, or the mall or whatever. But no, there will never be any type of Christmas decoration in my home. That's for sure. Yeah,
the U.S. gets pretty heavy with Christmas. Mostly, I think It's kind of really the Christmas thing we have is kind of more of a U.S. UK thing. I never really saw Christmas that big like in the continental Europe. It's just kind of a British U.S. thing. U.S. especially, we just extremely commercialized it. So.
Yeah, well,
Commercialized is an understatement.
Yeah.
of course, the problem is we now tend to re-import everything back from the US, don't we, in the UK?
And Denmark as well, sadly. I mean, I honestly don't know why, except for money for the businesses. But Halloween has taken over the country completely in Denmark.
Well, it is that
It's
time of
nuts.
year. It's expected.
We
Yeah,
get a little
but
bit of it here. It doesn't have much of a chance because Christmas really quickly like ramps it out.
Yeah, but I mean, we have a Danish tradition, well, a northern tradition every year that relates to dressing out, just like you guys do at Halloween. So why should we have two of them? And the one we have is based on history, on pagan traditions. Yeah, the witches, literally burning witches on the fire back then. I can't remember if it's actually based on the the quick Christian way of detecting who's a witch or not. But I should probably look it up. But yeah.
Does,
Oh,
Sorry, I'm back. I
does she
grabbed my
rate,
beer.
does she rate the same as a duck?
and did she turn you
Burn the
into?
witch.
Wait. And did she turn you into a newt?
I got
Yes,
better.
I got better.
I think it was something about you could one of the methods of determining whether a woman was a witch or not was tying rocks to her body and then throw her in water, and if she stays down there, if she drowns, doesn't come up, then she's not a witch. Good for her. But if she survives, well, then she's totally a witch, and then they would burn
Burner at the stake.
Actually,
her on
no
a-
rocks,
in a fire.
just throw them in the water.
Yeah, if throw in the water, if she drowns, she's not a witch, and great. Okay. She gets
Well,
a Christian
yeah.
burial.
Actually, that was where Python got the joke from in the first place, I believe.
Yep.
I don't see what the problem is. I mean, I really don't. That seems like a solid method in certain
Well, hey, if
situations.
they do it on people like what's her name, Anita Sarkeesian, for example,
Oh God, no! Extra
would be-
rocks, extra rocks.
or 50 Splinters. That would be fair. But I put a link to the history of it in the internal chat.
Well, so for those of us who are seasonal traditionalists, I think that's a good way to put it. What would you do about a town whose entire local economy is dedicated to a single holiday?
You mean like Leavenworth, Washington?
No. I'm talking Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Those who have been there know what I'm talking about.
I'm
Never been
not aware of that. I was thinking of Sturgis.
No,
Who else is like? What town is more dedicated to a holiday than Sturgis?
oh well, but Sturgis is just for a short period, and then it all dies down.
And it is a beautiful holiday.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. But Frankenmuth, Michigan is the Christmas capital of the world. The entire town is dedicated to everything Christmas year round. They don't fucking
Weird.
stop.
That's odd.
Blame the German influence. That part
Damn
of
you.
that part
Damn
of
you, Geo Stribber.
that part of Michigan has
Hey, what do you have
historically.
against Dick Geosaber?
Well, that part of Michigan
Well,
had
that-
a huge German immigrant.
Yes.
Well, you know what? As long
way, and I'll ask.
For this year's allowance, can I get in bowls?
Go. Oh, sorry, guys. My son came in here to ask if he could talk to you.
No, we don't mind.
I don't mind.
Well, I don't mind. What about you guys?
I don't mind.
It-
I don't mind.
okay, 30 seconds. Can we give him
Ah,
30?
time
Yeah,
it takes.
have at it.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to take my headphones. Well, actually, I'll mute so I can holler for him because I told him to leave. And then I'll bring him back in a second.
Mm-hmm. Well, as long visiting that town, I would imagine it would be a nightmare for me to be in there, especially if if a certain Christmas song was played constantly. But I don't think it would be in this case. Last Christmas, that song just I'm so sick of it. Back when I worked as a a technician at the rental shop thing, I would go to maybe, I don't know, sometimes up to 20 Christmas parties, for the gear. Guess how many times I would hear "Last Christmas," la, 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 just on one night.
3 times an
drives me
hour.
nuts. It drives me fucking nuts. It's been played 5 times by the DJ, and still, the usual drunk idiot comes up. And even when the DJ starts rolling his eyes or her eyes in that case, then it should be. Oh no, sorry, no, that CD that's broken. I can't find it. Sorry.
Oh, or no, it's like, oh, sorry, you missed it. We just played it 2 songs ago.
Yeah, but that wouldn't work because they would just say, "Oh, again." I mean, it's just like at a concert where you have a DJ between sets, and some idiot during after a break where the DJ was on, the band is back up on stage doing their thing, and then that drunk dumbass comes down to the audio guy and asks, "Oh, do you have that song, that new one from Britney Spears?"
Hey, guys.
That gets old really quick.
We're on. There's a 10-year-old on the line.
Yep.
Don't say the F word, please. I told him he has 30 seconds. Winston,
Hey, buddy.
tell the nice people what you want to say.
Hi, thanks for letting me continue on your show. So I have a small question. You know what's up with the Nintendo Classic? I mean, they released it at like the first Nintendo console, but why would they bring it back when they know people are just gonna double hate it? Right? You know what's up with that?
I was never a Nintendo guy. I was a Commodore guy, so I shouldn't answer that one because I would make many people angry.
Well, the way I look at it is it comes down to marketing. There has been such a nostalgia push for a lot of gaming that they believe they can make enough money by re-releasing the original system with updated electronics, so it's a little easier on the gameplay, but by bringing back that retro feel and really feeding into that nostalgia, it's actually more geared for people like your dad and myself than you.
Well, for personally me, I think that it's kind of like a waste of time for Nintendo, and plus, I think it's like the most laziest thing they ever done, because why release the most oldest console that they made and just release it again? I mean, like, that's the most laziest thing that you can possibly think of, right, guys? Don't you guys understand?
It's a
Well,
nostalgia
Really old
marketing thing.
folks like me and your dad like old stuff. That's the
Yeah, but
problem. We all like old stuff.
It's a
I-
Because
nostalgia
it makes,
thing. Yeah.
because it makes us think we're 10 again. When
But
life
honestly-
was so much easier and more fun. And all we had to worry about was going to school.
Okay, Winston,
you
I
know
want to
what?
show you something real fast. Alan, can you talk in just a second? Winston,
Yeah.
This is what someone from England sounds like. Alan, you say a few words,
Oh.
like maybe a sentence?
Yes, hello. What's your son's name anyway? I didn't catch that.
His name is Winston, and actually, he is named after the greatest Englishman that I know.
Church.
that couldn't possibly be
Winston
Churchill, would it?
Spencer Churchill.
Yes, and I have a magazine that I framed on my wall that from the month he was born that said, "What would Winston do?" And it has Churchill on the cover. And I'm sorry, Bo. Can you say a few words?
Yeah, sure. I'm the nerd from Denmark, and I've actually recently myself, I'm starting to get diagnosed, but I'm actually suffering from ASD myself, as it seems. But yeah, you shouldn't, put too much into the dialect I have. I used to listen to people's accents or dialects, and I just, tune into the same ones. Just making sure you know that. About that Nintendo stuff. Nintendo is, of course, a company that wants to make money, but every now and then, it's just a company doesn't necessarily put out a product to make money, and I think that's what they did this time. They put out a product that wasn't intended to make money. It was just for the nostalgia's sake, just for the fun of it. I seriously doubt that they intended to make money off of the the NES Classic. I don't think so.
Well, I guess you do have a good point. But personally, me, I'm not more like a Nintendo Classic guy. I'm more of a Nintendo Switch guy. So, one last thing before I leave. Whatever you do, don't judge my dad's accent. And if you say any insulting things about this word, next time I be on this show, you're the one you can be insulted.
Okay. Well, maybe you shouldn't threaten these nice people, but that nice man that just spoke, he was from Denmark.
Oh, well,
The country that Lego. Sorry.
Did you? He said, "I hope you're doing a good job at Denmark."
Det gør jeg i hvert fald. Det synes jeg selv, jeg gør. Just to mess around with you. Actually, no. If you're not sure, Denmark is where Lego is actually from. Please don't. When people talk about Lego, don't let them say Legos. It's not Legos. It's Lego. It's an abbreviation of two words. Play well. Lego. There's no.
So it's like an apostrophe, like a Lego.
Well, no. It's just the way of saying it. It's just it just means play well. There is no. It's not as intended as an apostrophe.
Okay.
It's just something that I've noticed many Americans just put on there for some reason.
All right. So Winston, say goodnight to the nice people and tell them thank you again.
Okay. Thanks for letting me be on your show, guys. Winston over out. Peace.
Peace out, kid.
Oh God, that's my kid. Up the door, boy. Oh God, that's what I deal. It's exhausting.
Yeah, you have. The only thing you can do is embrace it.
I know, but sometimes
that's what I have to force myself to think about my own condition here.
My oldest son is profoundly autistic, and my second son has ASD as well.
And I am undiagnosed because at this point I'm 43. Like, what's the point? But
yeah, same here.
Me,
I recognized it in myself when my son was diagnosed.
And that's what happened to me. I read a book about it, and I was like, okay, you're talking about me. So
you actually see it in a lot. You see it borderline in an awful lot of people who've been in the military, because the military really suits people who have those sorts of behaviors.
That makes sense. I've never thought about it that way.
But the funny thing, if you're diagnosed before entering, you will never.
You won't get in.
You will never get in.
Hey, we have this group of people who's perfect for us, but we're gonna try to disqualify all of them.
Yeah,
right.
Funny, huh? I mean, I was told blatantly by a military doctor, after I was starting to get diagnosed, that because of your because you've started, going to a doctor and diagnosing you. If they end up diagnosing you with any type of yeah, disorder, like just any type of Asperger's, any type
you're
of
done. Yeah.
ASD, yeah, you're done, because the military considers, for example, ADHD as a personality disorder that changes you completely. But I can't imagine why they say that, because I've always been like this. Yes, my injury did trigger something that changed. So it's been more what do you call it? Yeah, pronounced now. Yeah, I know, but it's not like I changed, the day that I was diagnosed or in that period. I've always been me.
Right.
So but that's what they call it. They say, well, it's a personality changing disorder. It's
Well,
just no.
When I was I struggled through actually all the way through high school. I had a more than one. I had one actually pull me aside in my earlier grades of high school, and when I was talking about, I said, I'm going to go to college, and he pulled me aside and said, "Well, you need to pick a trade school. You can't go to college." And I was like, "Well, okay, I guess I'll pick a trade school." Well, now I have a master's degree.
Yeah, but why though? Because you were deemed too stupid, or too what? I mean, why? What was the reason?
Because for whatever reason, which is the reason that I'm struggling against, and making sure that he doesn't have to deal with what I did. My grades were bad because there's a block. There's something that is in modern education that folks like us don't adhere to. Yeah, we're not in that paradigm. And therefore they say, well, then you're dumb. Well, guess what? I was smarter than every teacher that I had at school. And it almost makes me want to go back and show them my wall of degrees and awards and everything, and all of my military honors, and say, what now? So when I know maybe you're about to say it, and I apologize for cutting you off, but at least now they know. Like, they tested him, they said he's way above average IQ.
It wasn't exactly the direction I was going, but what I wanted to say was that today, at least, teachers in schools realize that some kids learn stuff best by reading, by going through the theory in text. Others need to, figure it out with their fingers in practical exercises and so on. It's that has in Danish schools it's not exactly the same thing, but high schools in Denmark have the country all over the country have started taking some subjects out of the classrooms and into nature or into the urban environment. Instead of learning about geometry in a classroom, you just do this more or less the same thing, but outside to keep everyone active.
Right. And there needs to be new approaches to this, and they're starting to get there. And I apologize if I got a little bit loud and emotional about that, but that's my boy.
Oh, hey, I totally understand it. So I'm good with it. I'd like to talk to him again sometime. So.
Oh no, he'll talk to you all day.
Oh yeah.
And he
and I would probably have many things in common.
And he and I do. We kind of almost have our own language.
Oh yeah.
And
That's-
like when he was tested, and he was tested at the Naval Hospital, and they're up to date on this, at least in their psychology department, and they said, well, he's in the 80th percent of IQ, but he has these certain barriers, and it's just a matter of figuring out what it is. If you're trying to find your way through a maze, and you found your way through 80% of it, the only thing is to try to figure out what pipe you didn't get through and find a way through it. And that's what we're up against right now.
Yeah, and how to best utilize the advantages that he has compared to others. His age.
Right. But in most situations, he's far beyond. The folks my age have to look up words that he says.
Yeah. I mean,
And
to me,
I'm not
in
exaggerating.
First and second, no, but my experiences in first, second, and certainly also third grade, in English classes, physics classes, and chemistry classes, that was boring as hell. Really boring.
Oh,
I mean,
they
I
had
was
to
above
move-
the teacher for that one. It was horrible.
Yeah, they had to move him up a grade in math.
Yeah.
Because he was just they just did. But by that point in my life, I had already been labeled. So back then, it
Yeah,
was
you
just
had problems with that.
you were just set back.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you could do it in as far as math goes in English, you couldn't get there, or vice versa. So you were just held back the whole way.
Yeah, and I've never heard of any kid in Danish public schools being allowed to jump a class because of their skills. What
Well,
would usually
he was at a
happen there
private
is that the parents would take the kid out of the school and use a private school instead, where
That's
they
what I
did
did.
do it. Yeah, I
That's what I was
don't know if
paying.
it's a rule in Danish schools, in public schools, that they're not allowed to, but I've never heard of any school doing it.
Well, now we have something called which is why I put him back in public schools. Of course, I did a little bit of nefarious stuff to get him into one that I wanted. But we have something called a individual study plan.
Oh, one-on-one tutoring, or
It's not. It's not that. It's like, okay, he's in regular school for like 60% of the day, but then for the other
okay.
40, so it's a individual thing, and there's extra money put towards those things. So that's why I put him back. I was paying literally $1,200 a month last year for his private school, and that anybody American will tell you that's 2 cars. So that's
Yeah.
so now he's in public school, and they make allowances for things like that now. I know we're way off course. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. It's this show only has actual direction when I say, "Hey, we're going to be talking about this week," which hasn't really happened the last 2 weeks because there really hasn't been anything worth addressing in this venue the last few weeks. But
Yeah.
actually, now is a good time to point out that ammunition is being gathered. Targets have been acquired. There will be no mercy and no quarter given.
and I look forward to see how that pans out,
And
especially for the targets placed in England. Well,
if there are specifics that you can send sidebar, then I'm willing to But
It,
I'm on board.
it's as a result of actually the topic you brought up earlier, Cliff, where as soon as you mentioned that, I ended up getting messages from a couple people, and it's like, yeah, that needs to be a thing. So I am making it a thing.
And I'm not even joking. I will be an ambassador for some fun. I'll walk up and down my street if I got to. This is a thing.
Yeah. Let's just say it takes a lot to get me angry.
Oh no, that
And-
yeah, I'm there with you.
Yeah, you're the same type of person I am in that regard. It takes a lot, but if it actually happens to result in getting pissed off, yeah, it's dangerous to be near near me. If
Yeah.
you're the person that pissed me off, that is.
Well, there was a situation here. Damn, it wasn't even a year ago, where there was an individual in our neighborhood who had gotten a substance abuse issue. And I've lived here 20 years. And I grabbed my Maglite, 6 D-cell Maglite, and I was about to go to him. And one of the ladies across the street, that once the situation was neutralized, told him, look, if Cliff's about to hit you with the Maglite, you got a problem. I mean, like, and my wife was like, yeah, I mean, come on, like, because I just don't do that. I'm really a laid back dude. He had crossed like 25 lines, so that's where this situation's at. And yeah, I'm gonna go to the wall on this one.
Yeah, and the message that I sent to one person in particular who is not addressing it publicly. He has no desire to, and I don't blame him. I told him stockpiling ammo, target is acquired, no mercy will be given. The response I got, well, if you're going to go for it, go big.
Indeed.
Didn't you go off on a limb by not using the word quarter? Or is that not a term used in naval warfare anymore?
No quarter.
It is no quarter.
Yeah. No
But I
mercy,
always
no
kind of
quarter.
think about money, but for some reason. But what is the background for that term, though?
Quarter
Give them
is
quarter.
so when you would take prisoners of war, you would actually put them up in quarters. When you say
okay.
no quarter will
Yeah.
be given, it means you are not taking prisoners.
Okay, fair enough.
I
didn't even think of
actually
that.
didn't know that. I learned some new shit. Learning has occurred.
Yeah, and the thing is, quarter does mean 1/4. The Danish naval term is also, the Danish word for quarter, kvarter, which is also used. It isn't used. Oh no, it isn't used as in terms of give no quarter, but it is used for accommodation, so to speak. That specific word.
Yeah. Well, we have officer quarters, enlisted quarters, junior
Married quarters.
enlisted quarters. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you go to a U.S. Navy base, you'll hear the acronym BOQ, BEQ. That's the enlisted bachelor officer quarters. It's where the single or geographical bachelor guys get stuck.
Oh, well, let me do the sidebar. And the Americans will love this one. Okay, so I was down in Mississippi, and at this point, I was a full lieutenant, and I was at the BOQ, and I had a nice RIN. Well, the E6s that were in the same school as me were in a 4-person pod, and y'all know what a pod, right? You got the little common room and 4 bedrooms off of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a bedroom, a living room, and a kitchen, bathroom. So the E6s were complaining to me that they were in these pods. And I was telling the instructors, like, what the fuck? Well, about my second week there, this guy walks out of the room across from me who was a E5 Air Force guy. That was his room. He had the same room as me. So an E6 Navy guy had the pod, and the E5 Air Force guy had his own room. All of us Americans know what's up with that.
Fucking chair force.
Hey, watch it, guys. Watch it.
The
I had to
American,
slum it.
To be the silent one in this one this time.
I had to slum it on a detachment once and live in a caravan for 6 weeks.
You're RAF. It's not the same thing. Trust me.
It's close to the same thing, though.
It is the same thing.
something's up with the American Air Force. We gotta get on this. Like, he walks out of his room in the morning. He's like, "Hey, sir, how's it going?" And I'm like, "You're an E5." What?
This explains it all right here.
Yes. That's what's
that
up with
doesn't
that.
Is that a 16 in the bottom of that back, or?
I don't know. Let me go back and find that.
Ultimately, however, it does go to an old saying we do have in the Navy, though. Choose your rate, choose your fate.
Hey, didn't I post that earlier today?
Yes, I just haven't gotten to save it into the slideshow yet.
But I mean, how do you tell a 12 or 14-year E6 you got a shittier room by far than this E5 guy that's across the hall from me? And I've got 18 years by then. Like, there's a problem.
Whoa, go back to the one before. Wow.
Huh?
You could tell the Photoshop, can't you?
Yeah.
I'm just interested in what are those weird rings in the backpack? Penis rings or something? I don't know. What the hell?
That's part of a med kit.
Ah, okay. Oh, small donut. Oh, okay. Small donuts then. Well, that's what we call them in Denmark anyway.
Let's see.
But yeah, there's an issue with the differences between the services. And I agree that the Army got the short end of the stick. My last deployment, I was in Germany, in Stuttgart, and an E7 walked into our jock and just got screamed at by a sergeant major for something nonsense in front of enlisted people, E3s, E4s. Let me ask the Navy folks, would a chief ever get yelled at by a master chief in front of a seaman?
Oh, hell no.
No. That was odd to me. And I had a sidebar, and I was like, what was that? And he was like, what are you talking about? That's what we do. It's like,
I'll be honest. We had like a really incompetent chief in my division, and it really wasn't known. It really wasn't known by higher up at first. They kind of figure out after a while, just because had 7 people in FT division, and the 6 of us non-chiefs all got along fine. But every time the chief was involved, there was an argument. At first, he would get taken aside and talked to, but after a while, the Cobb figured out that, wait a minute, everything else seems to go smooth till the chief gets involved, and everything goes downhill. So he started taking the chief aside. That was the thing. You'd always would take the chief aside. He's not going to yell at us in front of the chief, or yell at the chief in front of us. I mean, that's just
right. You do that. You don't do that, because what does that do? That diminishes every other chief.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, Chief of the Boat, is that, or Cobb, is that an acronym only used on subs? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like the equivalent of a
Command Master Chief.
Yeah,
Command Master Chief, or whatever command you're at. That's the senior enlisted guy.
A Cobb doesn't necessarily have to be a Master Chief. He could be a senior chief as well. And
correct. I was on
Cobb is the highest ranking officer. I mean, on the boat. I mean,
no. Highest ranking enlisted.
Yeah, he's the highest ranking enlisted. He basically answers directly to the captain. He's the senior enlisted advisor, is what they would consider it.
Yeah, SCA. Yeah, that's what we call it sometimes. It varies. I was on a patrol craft where an actual chief, E7, was the SEA or the Cobb.
Yeah, but it's kind of like I can't remember exactly when they had started it, but it's kind of like almost a secondary chain of command, and it was just a way so that, like, he basically represented the enlisted force and had a direct path to the skipper, so you could basically, like, not all stuff necessarily had to come through division officers and stuff like that. It was a way that enlisted concerns could get addressed directly to the CO without going through lower officers.
Right. It's an exalted position. Yeah. You're a highly placed guy.
Yeah. I mean, all the movies I've seen where Cobb was used, it's always been submarine environments that it was used in, and I always thought that it was the the next in command at that moment of the boat.
No, because he's not a commissioned officer.
What the hell?
But the term Cobb, though, is
I take offense to that one.
Specific.
No, fuck no. I'm not Canadian.
Wait.
I mean, what the hell?
Go back one. Back one.
The tech school one?
Yeah. That is so freaking true.
It is. It is. Oh, God.
But yeah, Cobb specifically is only used in submarine force. It's just a submarine specific term.
That's better. That one I can accept. No. What about the one I scooped up from from the GDC server? I gotta find it again. I think I put it in this. The army guy standing under a sign.
Oh, the frustration one. That it's on the Discord server.
Yeah. I'll get that pulled up here really quick.
How the hell can I find it?
Frustration area. Yeah.
And I am wondering, is that an actual sign? Not manipulated, that is.
It almost looks like the soldier's been dropped into that image, doesn't it?
There it is. Frustration.
I got it, Bill.
I mean, the signs with brown backgrounds in Denmark is usually, you could usually see that on highways, and it's that references museums or sightseeing locations.
Yeah,
I
same
don't
here
know
in
if
the UK.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that the same in the US? Because that sign does have a brownish background.
I don't know. In my state, usually the brown signs usually devote historical landmarks. They'll have them
Yeah,
up
that-
like
yeah,
on
that's
the
the
interstate for
kind of-
historical areas, but it's pretty
Well, hopefully, signs in the U.S. are the same all across the country. Hopefully,
Yes and
in
no.
that regard.
It depends.
that's-
It depends on where you are. So, like, brown nationally is a historical landmark
Or national parks.
or national park. Blue are service areas or places of interest. And then, other than that, the general road signs for notifications are green.
Yeah, but it is the
Except
usual
Norfolk, where they're
issue
blue for
with
some
the-
reason.
Yeah, but it's the never-ending, laughable story of the divided United States. Or what? Man.
Isn't there one road somewhere in the US that has all the distances in kilometres? I think it's only one road.
Oh,
Man, that
in
should
one
be in
state.
that city
Yes.
where everything is Danish. I know they have a city. There's a city in the U.S. I can't remember where everything is Danish.
Oh, that's got to
So-
be out in the Midwest.
Yeah, there was a documentary about it some time ago. I can't remember what it was called. I have to go look that thing up. Can't even remember why it was even there, but something about most of the inhabitants originally came from Denmark or something.
Well, yeah, like you'll have areas in Minnesota and the Dakotas that have a lot of Icelandic and Norwegian,
Yeah.
because that's where a lot of the immigrants ended up at. Same thing with the German in Michigan and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean there is a big proportion of the United States that are of Norwegian descent. Most of what I know is from in terms of Scandinavian descent. It's usually the Norwegians that I come across in terms of ham radio operators, at least.
So there it is out in Arizona.
A relic of the metric conversion that never happened.
It's weird. It's a sign with rounded corners, but it still has sharp edges.
Well, the
Does
reason
that tell anything about the
so-
age of the sign, maybe?
No, so what it is the sign background is green. The white corners are reflective like the text, so it pops out when the headlights
Oh, okay.
hit it at night.
Okay. Oh, and I just found it. The town I was talking about is Elkhorn in Shelby County, Iowa.
Yep, Midwest.
662 inhabitants in 2010. It was founded by Danish immigrants. Well, yeah, immigrants in 1901.
And with that wonderful history lesson today.
That's this is a wide one, yeah.
Yep, there we go. I agree with that.
Oh yeah.
With that, I'm actually thinking relax a bit, decide whether or not I'm going to abuse my liver this week or not.
Come on, you know you
Just
want to.
Just posted a link in the internal and external side chat, by the way, for that town thing.
Yeah, but let's be fair. I haven't even looked at the lineup if there is one. Actually,
There
Well,
hasn't
there
been
isn't
one
anything.
posted yet.
Yeah, there isn't anything in the panel members channel yet, for some reason.
Sorry, I
The
was
only one
gone for a minute.
Yeah.
What I missed?
The only Elkhorn, Iowa, for one.
No idea.
Yeah. Look at the side chat, the internal chat, or external for that matter.
Oh, okay. Let me check.
No, the only post on the panel members is from yesterday from the Lavender Lady,
Yeah.
but nothing else. But I know that SciStrike has been busy today doing hangouts on the Equinox. They're actually still at it. I see on their Equinox experiment with some of the among them are at least one of the flat earthers he met on the beach or board.
Well, the Equinox is a death dagger. It's the end of it.
Yeah, right. If only. If
It
only
is.
was.
It is, except for the,
Mhm.
nuh-uh. That's the only answer.
Exactly. That's the majority of their answers, though.
It is. That's Jaren. Nuh-uh.
Have you seen Thrive and Survive's latest
What, the hurricane
radar
one? Yeah.
rant again?
For some reason I didn't get the notification. I mean, I'm subbed to his channel just for the shits and giggles. I haven't seen any notification from him yet.
Hurricane proves flat Earth. It's another radar rant where
Full
he
of fucking horse.
manages to completely and utterly
How about
not
this?
figure out radar.
We'll actually do a little bit of prep work this time. So next week, we will all pitch in and debunk his misunderstandings of radar. Since, wait, there are how many people in here who can speak intelligently on it?
Oh, I lived by. I stood offshore the deck on a 40,000-ton warship for what, 2 years, and then another year on another giant warship. Yes, I can talk about radar.
I know some basics, but not really something I can fall into. So, we didn't use radar that much, obviously.
And my knowledge is based on ham radio, so it's not exactly the same. But yeah, I know the bare basics of it.
Still
It
more
was-
than him.
It was
The
my
US
life.
Probably.
I lived radar.
I happen to know that the radar he's talking about, the stuff the US use for weather, has a half degree beam angle, and at 10,000 meters you are looking at being at a range of 189 statute miles.
Yep.
I'll put it this way:
305k.
if a
meters.
flat earther wants to come at me on radar, here I am.
Yeah,
You know
kind
what?
of the same, really.
He did a live stream 2 hours ago. I see. The title was "Gravity Debunked by Globe Believers."
And it was 10 minutes
who-
long, huh?
Who's this guy?
Mr. Thrive and Survive.
Mr.
Oh,
Thrive and Survive though did some things on sonar at one point in time, and I really got into debunking that shit. So
Well,
It's
you
just- I mean,
you
it's
know
the
what?
same concept. Come on, I mean, it's a different medium, but it's the same thing.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm actually going to go ahead and see if I can send a message to him. Since he is a veteran, he would be eligible for the panel. So we could even talk to him live about it.
Wasn't it? Didn't you do that to him, or was it that towards someone else?
Oh, no, that was Von Poopy Pants, and he ran off.
Oh yeah. I am everything
You know else
guy.
who at least says he's a veteran, and I don't have any reason to disbelieve, but what's the oh god, I'm so drunk right now. Jesus, the black dude.
Dragnot? Yeah, he's been in here a few times.
No, the flat earther,
G-Man?
No, D Marble.
D Marble.
D Marble, and
He has not been. He's not been. No.
has he been offered?
No.
Has not
Has
been
he-
offered because I never heard him make the claim that he was a vet.
No, he did. He said he was an
Really?
army dude.
The only ones I know
Oh, no.
specifically are Thrive and Survive and Bob Nodal. So
Nope. Listen to
What?
D Marble at the convention. He talks about his whole experience in the army and then the whole thing.
Man.
Yeah,
Did he mention what branch?
Army.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
what type of army?
He
He's
was.
actually live streaming right now. D Marble is.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Weekly wrap up with Vegan Warrior.
Vegan
Oh.
Warrior, oh my god.
All right, well, tell you what, you guys go harass him there, find out, and if you want,
These
the invitation is
these
open.
waters that we wade in are, oh god. It I don't know why we do this to ourselves.
We're masochists.
Very much so, yeah.
I am. I hit punching bag so hard that I break my shit.
Actually, I've been doing much. I haven't been directly watching many of the live Earthers for a while. I've kind of taken a break from it. I think part of that is that I do work with the human resources department of my company, so I already deal with a high level of stupid. So
So you have the training for it. And
Well,
I have to bow out
I
to
think
break from it. Can't get into the stupid in my personal life all the time. Sometimes I think I want my personal life to be
Oh,
a
yeah.
break from the stupid. So.
your time off should be your time off. That's true.
Jared might be able to attest to this right now that I was in a live stream and I said that I'd listened to Pete and Peter, and everybody said,
Uh-huh.
why?
Yeah.
And I said, well, the same reason I slow down and watch car wrecks. It's,
Well, car wrecks are entertaining, at least.
well, Pete and Peter were for a while. And
Yeah,
I
for
walked
a
away.
bit they were comedic relief, but then it just got creepy.
But is it they or he? Like,
They.
literally,
Peter-
That is a good question.
I think that's one dude.
Well, look at their faces. They are different. They do have different facial faces. They do sound very much alike, but I am absolutely convinced they are two different people. I mean, two people. Sorry,
something about that.
not
oh
different.
yeah, they're definitely two people, Pete and Pete, but they are in the same room.
Oh yeah,
I think
like
they're the
feet
same
apart.
You
Like feet
sometimes
apart.
see one of them reach across to the other, don't you?
But I try not to watch any of their stupid stuff. I mean, that basically is everything.
Everything.
I have never seen anything from them that where they looked as if they were in the same room. It always looked like they were in different rooms.
Exactly,
For-
and
for the- for what I-
it seemed like that's why I think I hypothesized that it might be one dude.
No, it's definitely two because I don't watch them, but having seen some clips on Comedy Cats, somebody worth going and watching if you haven't seen
Oh yeah,
it.
he's cool.
Oh,
It's a
no.
good running gag too.
One of his running gag bits, the one on the left as we're looking at it, or the one on the right, reaches out to his left, and you actually see the end of his fingers appear in the other guy's camera.
Well, I'll just throw out, if you haven't seen Conspiracy Cats, that is a solid dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's got
funny.
some good shit to say.
And by the way, on the same subject, Block for Block.
Oh.
What
No,
happened to that
no,
that moron?
No.
He hasn't
Well,
streamed.
hold
for
on.
a month.
Isn't that a...
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. He hasn't been streamed for a month. I consider that a good thing, but did he get tired of doing that stuff, that idiotic shit he did? I
Or
wonder.
did he just get banned?
Yeah, good question. I mean, is there some place where you can see if a certain YouTuber has any strikes or anything? I mean, just like what's it called, a Social Blade or something?
I don't know if Social Blade shows strikes, but it
Or-
definitely
or,
it
you know,
definitely
something.
shows it shows the subscribers. Now, what is up with that one?
Which one?
The bottom one.
I mean, the one that I actually like.
Oh,
I got
Yeah,
this
the
in the
Starbucks
Squirrels
the bottom
Discord.
one, the truth.
The Starbucks one, I don't recognize the red logo thing. Is that the original? Their original logo? or-
Yeah, the original logo on the brown one for Starbucks, that was the original Seattle Coffee House at Pikes Peak. Pikes Place.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to steal this one from Claudia on Squirrels Discord.
Right.
Right, well, I'm going to call this an evening. I'm going to go relax and do some other stuff and things because, yeah, it's that
Stuff and
that
things
kind of
warm up.
night. Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
time to do stuff and things in America.
Oh,
Well,
God.
apparently,
Oh,
hey,
God,
it's
what are
only
you-
4:30 here.
Yeah, I was going to say it's early today, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're
about
a
an
bit
hour.
early.
About an
Oh
hour.
no,
early.
no!
What is that?
Sorry.
Oh,
Sargon
take it
Riker.
off.
I was going to say that's Sargon looking like Riker, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't
That
tarnish.
does look like Sargon.
I like-
Is that Sargon?
Yeah,
That's Sargon, yeah. That's
I mean,
Sargon.
I liked Sargon of Akkad back then, but not anymore. Not really.
What did he
He's
do?
too, well, I can't really tell you. I mean, it's just I liked some of the stuff he did. I mean, the This Week in I can't remember This Week in Stupid or something.
Yeah.
Like that. I like those,
Oh.
but he's become too long-winded, I think.
Too
And I do have
repetitive
a,
too. He kind of like keeps covering the same topics over and over again, so it kind of like you've heard
And
everything
apparently-
before. Basically, that he said. It's like why just keep
Yeah.
listening?
And apparently, many people find him, obnoxious too. I don't see that because I don't really watch him anymore. But
My area of attack is flat Earth and sovereign citizens,
oh yeah, you have to.
and y'all have those in the
Of the
UK. So
Yeah, Freeman of the Land.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you must really love Allegedly Dave.
well,
He is one of the more
And
well-spoken
Moorish Americans
people.
too. I like the Moorish Americans too. As a
they're they're
same
a
thing.
schism of the sovereign citizens. Just do this every morning. Type sovereign citizen and then hit edit by time and then hit today. And there's going to be something every day.
Oh, you mean something new every day, or?
Yes, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Every
Funny.
day there's
Well, I know it just you just have to write sovereign citizen on a YouTube search, and you'll find something to last the whole day.
Oh,
of
God.
pain stomach. I mean, stomach pains are abundant while watching those videos.
remember, there was one one of those sovereign citizen videos I was looking at where like someone had linked to it. I was like watching it, and then there was some comment in there like, "Well, why has there been any update? Because this had happened like 6 months ago."
because he's in jail.
That's what I went to double check. Yes, this person actually, they were about 2 weeks after they posted this video, they went to jail.
I wonder if that's the guy that has gray hair, too long hair, and a long gray beard, and he has a pot belly or a beer belly. That guy.
You have to be more specific. That's
Oh,
that's
yeah,
described
that
as
doesn't-
80%
Oh,
of
sorry.
the
That's
sovereign
typical
citizens.
American. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I have to be honest. I haven't used that search term for a good long while now.
Oh well, I can send y'all a great long
Compilation.
trial. A trial of one that happened. Oh God, it was just a couple of years ago, and he represented himself, and you can hear his whole testimony over the course of about 5 hours of
Ooh,
was convicted.
that sounds interesting.
The favorite trial I ever heard of one of those things was I have to shake this judge's hand because he handled it perfectly. I remember because it's the whole thing where a lot of times they argue about them not being whoever. Oh, I'm a duly representative. Yeah. And this is hilarious. This guy kept pulling this, and finally the judge just sent the guy to jail and said, "While you're there, tell him he's in jail too."
Yes, I know that dude. He said, well, he named all the different names, and he said all of them are going wherever. Yeah, but I'm going to put in chat my email, and if you want to know, if you want a link to this dude's trial, I'll send it to you. Let's see. Can I tell you my email, drunk?
Just don't spell it out
Guy
loud
hasn't
as you
even
try to
started
type
yet.
it.
You're already drunk. What the heck?
See, that's a man after my own heart. He knows how to do it.
What I need to do is next time I'm with my mom, I need to get a picture because you have that photo that has the photo that you show in the feed where it has the different starting things of like the Navy, Army, and it has the Navy guy, the Navy kid, or the kid that's going to be in the Navy one day drinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a picture of me at 4 years old sipping from a beer. So.
That's rock solid.
That is too fucking beautiful.
All right, y'all see my email in the side chat?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, email me, and I'll email you a dude that represented himself in this a long court trial, and he did the whole sovereign citizen. You don't have jurisdiction. The whole thing. It was the sovereign citizen smorgasbord, and guess what? You're in jail.
Nice. Already done.
But it was beautiful. Oh, I did. I nosh on it.
I like the guy got off a driving thing. He was about to do the whole sovereign citizen spiel, and the judge turned around and said, the prosecution had cocked something up and the case was dismissed, and the guy didn't even get to do his sovereign citizenship, which I thought was quite good.
Well, the funny ones are the one where the guy pulls over. He gets pulled over and he's like, "Can I get your name and badge number?" And the cop's just like, "You know what? Never mind." And the guy's like, "See, sovereign citizen," and he drives away. And what? No, the cop just didn't want to deal with your dumb ass.
You weren't worth the time.
Right.
No, you weren't worth the paperwork.
Right. And when I say, look, the cop just wasn't, it's like, well, no, he knows that the 13th Amendment, that's not what happened there. The cop just didn't want to deal with your dumb ass. I have stood Century Watch. I know what it's like to not just want to deal with somebody and just go.
Let's see what.
Something more important comes along. You got to actually, waste your time with that.
Like, funny thing, I went to my son's school the other morning, and they want to see your driver's license before you walk your kid into the school. And I pulled my wallet out, and my driver's license was sticking. I couldn't pull it out because I got one hand right now. And he saw my retired military ID, and he was like, "Bro, just go." He's like, "I'm retired military too." So a sovereign citizen could have said, "Oh, you don't need your driver's license to go into a school." Yeah, you do. Unless you're bros with the dude that looks at your ID.
Well, it's that
But,
whole
yeah,
thing.
on a-
Even if you didn't have a driver's license, you would still have needed positive photo ID. It's just he saw what it was and was like, "Oh, wait a minute, you've dealt with all that bullshit too. Come on. I
Yeah.
feel your pain."
That was a bro thing. So that's analogous to I just don't want to deal with your nonsense thing. Like you probably got a good driver's license. I just don't want to, deal with it.
But that what you just said made me really sad. That you actually, as a parent, I would imagine, going to a school, you actually need to show your ID just to get in to a school.
Yeah, and that burns my
That's just
ass
sad.
just a little bit. It really does. It when I was a kid, my parents could just walk into the school and be like, "Hey, I'm Cliff's dad. I'm going to go to this classroom." Nowadays, that's changed. And
But what's the standard size in terms of students for a the average high school in the U.S.?
I would that
Sure,
varies.
it varies.
That varies way. Like
I mean,
I
the
guess
school I
from
went to was
100
about
to
400.
probably 1,000.
Wow. I mean,
Like-
I'm not sure, but in Denmark, it's around the 400-500 mark.
It
maximum.
It varies by areas. I mean, in how they do stuff. Like there's some spots where they have high population, but they have multiple high schools. The northern part of my state, they're known to do these, like, I call them met ball schools, because they're like the entire county will have one high school, and it's not even a small county. So you'll have like 3,000 students at a high school.
Right.
So, and that's where you have to use the school buses to get everyone in safely and moderately quickly, I guess.
Right. We have school buses. I mean, my son's school probably has, I would guess, 400 students. I drop him off in the morning, but he rides the bus home just because it's a hassle to get him in the afternoon because of this process. But this process is born of overreaction to school shootings that we've had. So getting into the school is a hassle. But if you're going to pick your son up, you got to have access to the school. So I just said, well, he can ride the bus home.
Yeah, but I would imagine that if it's a school of a 400 student size, it would be possible for everyone to know everyone.
Yes.
Especially if you're a parent and you have 3 or 4 kids going to that school. That was my situation anyway. And usually I would get close to getting into trouble with someone else because I got picked on. But that would be another reason for people recognizing your parents. And the worst part, my granddad was what would you call that? A repo guy, kind of, but employed by the state in this case.
And this is speculation on my part because I don't know. I'm not a legal person, but I would expect, or maybe speculate that recognizing a person is not a legal determination of who that person is, and that's why they need to do that.
Yes. In places where the ID requirement is there, positive identification is required. Even if you know the person, it's a cover your ass type of situation for the administration.
Because when I would walk onto a Navy ship or even drive onto a Navy installation, they would ask to see my ID and then say, well, thank you, sir. Good morning. Have a good day.
Well, in that regard, here's a scary scary facts for you guys. Until a couple of years ago, I don't know when they started, but the Danish military across all the branches, our military ID did not have an expiration date.
Oh,
Yeah.
I-
My
at all?
ID is in the My ID is in the mail. I have my new ID is in the mail, so I haven't received it yet. So my military ID right now is a heat laminated piece of paper, a certain type of paper at least, with a physical picture and my my full name, my eye color, my height, my hair color. Sorry, and of course a color picture. There's no my social security number is not on there. My military number is not there either.
oh wow.
But when I get the new ones, I mean they have our and the rank of course as well, 3 different languages. But the ones that are in effect now does at least have a warranty. No, that's not a warranty.
Expiration date.
Yeah, expiration date. I'm not sure how many years it is. 3 years. I think it is, or something.
For the U.S. military, all the IDs have had expiration dates for a while, and the expiration date was actually your end of obligated service.
Right.
Yeah.
And my retired ID has an expiration.
It's what, every
what-
10 years?
No, mine is when I turn 65.
Okay, yeah.
And then I get the one that says indeterminate, which means when I assume room temperature, like John McCain.
Well, now, so here's something though, Bo. The one you currently have, is the picture a shitty quality black and white image?
Nope. In fact, I'll just go get it so you can see it. It's not. It's an actual photo, unlike the photo on my driver's license.
Well,
That's a really crappy shit.
the old timers on the U.S. side know why I asked that question.
Yeah. I'll just grab it and DM it to you so you can share it to people. I'll just use my phone. That's probably best.
Yeah, I remember
And the
mine.
worst part is this
Well,
military
Jared,
ID huge
Okay.
compared to credit cards and so on.
Yep. So, what were you saying, Cliff?
Well, remember, or did you ever, when you were on carriers, look at the old cruise books of dudes back in like the 80s with the beards and
Oh
shit?
yeah.
Oh, that was hilarious. Like, there was dudes on cruises with like big ass beards, like they were like bikers.
Oh yeah.
Hilarious.
My dad had a beard as a chief, so
MWR ran.
second class. I remember.
Oh, well, NWR, well, that was a different thing. But I'm talking about like dudes that just legit had beards.
Yeah. Well, no. What I'm saying is, on the Kitty Hawk, each deployment, there was a buy-in, and then when we were not in port, you were allowed
Right.
to not shave. And
Right.
And oh yeah, mine got thick quick.
Oh, no. Well, I was on a patrol craft. RCO was a lieutenant. If we were underway, you didn't shave. You didn't have to. But what I'm talking about with the cruise books is back in the 80s when you could legit have a beard.
Yeah.
That's actually
Like-
why my dad retired. He retired just as they were making that change.
And a lot of dudes did.
Yep.
Because that was a big change.
I just sent it to you, Jared. Feel free to share it internally or externally as you see fit.
Right.
There's no.
I'm looking at the picture that Jay Brown just
That
sent.
my tweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did remember incorrectly. My social security number is here. That's bad memory on my part.
Here, how about I share that to everybody?
Go for it. Actually, hang on a second. And Good.
Ow.
All right.
What type of building is that in the middle?
It's not a building. It's a submarine.
It's actually
World War II.
a Baleo class thing.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking, windows or something, and I don't know. Okay.
No, so the tweet that really started this was in a back and forth. Bart Scott, a former NFL player, said that he was jumping on grenades and all this other stuff, and he was trying to equate his job as a second or third string linebacker, trying to compare it to military service, and it's like,
Yeah, there you
dude.
Yeah, that couldn't possibly go well in any situation. I mean,
And I have
if he was doing that to show off or something in front of a vet who got injured, I mean, nah, that wouldn't go well.
Hey, my wife says she's going to hit me again if I don't get off. So,
Uh-oh.
But but doesn't
Weren't you
her
a-
wait, doesn't her hitting you help you get off though?
and not the same way that we're talking about.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to. Nah.
But I did say again.
This is true. This is true.
So, next Friday,
Yep.
I guess.
What time?
Yep, next
If
Friday,
she
or
doesn't-
we'll see you then,
Bye-bye.
Cliff.
Blah. Hey, this whole thing with the thing and the thing.
Yeah, I'll let you know what's going up.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
But speaking of, I'm actually kind of hungry and want to go eat in peace. So
Yeah.
with
Me too. It's time for some stuff to be stuffed into them in my eating food.
yeah. And so for the other guys, the picture that Bo sent, I put the link in the internal chat here if you want to go take a look at what his Armed Forces ID looked like. It's kind of weird.
And, okay.
Kind of reminded
Yeah.
me of the Liberty cards that I had in A school.
Okay, if you want
does,
to share
actually.
it so people in the live stream can watch too.
That does look like those old Liberty cards I got in school. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the back side, I forgot to take a picture of that, but that's strictly just a this card is personal and is to be showed immediately if
Upon
asked
request.
by a sergeant, a post, patrols, or security forces, as well as civilian authorities. Misuse will be punished by the law. And blah, 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 blah. As a POW, it is only allowed to, inform of, this says social security number, but these days it's the military number, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Rank, name, and birth date, nothing more.
Yep.
So, but again, this is ancient. The one I received when I was a conscript in '97, it was also a laminated, but it was laminated by glue. Just this, from the same type of glue from tape. It wasn't heat glued, but at least that one had a embossed logo. That wing type of logo you see.
So it
it's
looked
actually a combination of Air Force, Army, and Navy.
Oh, so it was a bit more official looking previously.
Yeah, it was at least embossed with that logo thing, and not just printed on like it is here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
But hey, that was back then.
Yeah. Well, and with that, we're going to call this week's show to an end. By the way, everyone, keep an eye out. Monday afternoon just might be an interesting type of shit show. Fair warning.
On which channel?
Mine. Here.
Ooh, fun.
So stuffing things. That's all I'll say. Stuffing
So
things.
that'd be evening for us, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Early to mid evening, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will pitchforks and daggers be provided, or should we bring our own?
Bring your own.
Okay, dokie. Gotcha. Okay,
And
so
with
bring
that-
your BYOWMD. Got it.
And with that, we're